Hi guys, this is Stormouse03. Welcome back to my Evil Within 2 Classic Mode walkthrough. This is part 4, and I'm going to be taking you through chapters 8, 9, and 10 in this section. So, we're starting off at the very end of chapter 7, and the reason why I made a save at the end of the previous episode right here is because I'm going to be doing a couple of things that are kind of risky, and for me, I'd already done my hour and 15 minutes to hour and a half of playtime, and it's about at that time that I like to make a save just to keep progress consistent and to make sure that I don't have to go back through too much time spent. And so whenever I get to around that mark and I'm about to do something that's fairly risky, I like to make a save. So that's why I made that there. I had a moment when I was recording commentary at the end of the last one where I wasn't quite sure why I hadn't gone to get the shotgun, but you will see in this video why it was that I chose to make a save before I went to get that shotgun, because there's an enemy there that can cause you a lot of grief. And when I was recording the guide, I remembered a whole lot better than now when I'm recording this commentary. So that will be why. So the first thing we're going to do is come over here. There are two hysterics. The first one, we're going to stab in the back of the head, back off until she finishes her attack, and then take her out with the hand axe. There is another hysteric down the alleyway, and that's where we want to go because there's a shotgun ammo pouch down there that we want to pick up. And again, this isn't 100% necessary. I think these ammo pouches are very, very helpful because they just make it easier because you can carry more ammo with you, and so you're going to have to craft less of it on the fly. Which, for me, I think that's really, really helpful. So that is why I'm going to get this ammo pouch. But just know that if you really just don't want to do this, you do not have to. It's not required. So we tossed a bottle. You want to make sure that that you look at the hysteric down the end and make sure that the red part is on her so that she's going to hear it. And then we're going to hide around this corner, wait for her to turn around and stab her in the back of the head, and then run away. And you need to run way away because these ladies have a superior area of vision, and so you need to make sure that you get far back enough that she's not going to continue to be leashed, because you don't want to be running around this whole parking lot with her chasing you. That is going to be bad. So you'll see her just in the background right there. I'm going to move up here. I'm going to hide behind this fence, and I'm going to wait. It looks like she's doing the animation where she's lost me, but she repeats this animation several times. And you need to just make sure that she's gone back to her, I don't know where Sebastian is, so I'm going to go back to my original location walk. And then you can, when she has her back fully turned to you, move up a little bit, get around behind her, and give her a second stab. And that should take her out. Those things, they are mean and they are dangerous, and so you can definitely do that before making your save, but like I said, I usually try to make my save before doing something risky if I've already spent a good bit of time. So at this point, I'm going to break the boxes that I didn't break before because she may have heard it. I'm pretty confident that I tested this at some point because, like I said in the last video, I did that last section several times. And so I want to say that I tested that and she heard those boxes breaking and aggroed, and it was not a good time. So that's why I waited on those. And so now we have the lovely shotgun ammo pouch in hand, which is very, very nice. And I'm going to go and get the other shotgun from the shed. And so, like I said, at the end of the last video, I was having trouble remembering why exactly I waited to do this, because I know that the enemy that appears in the shed with you doesn't hurt you. And so I was thinking, well, that's not a threat. Why would I have waited? Well, the reason is there's one of those, what I called toxic abominations in 2 videos ago, but I have now learned the name for them is the Lament. So one of those green toxic ladies that screams, they are called Laments. She's patrolling around outside of here. And oftentimes when you get out of this shed, she's going to be right there. And it's hard to tell exactly where she is just by the sound. So that's why I waited to do this, because if she catches you at the wrong angle, it can be a very, very bad day for you. So you pick up the shotgun. It's going to trigger this moment to happen. You can pick up this hand axe to replace the one that you used. And you have to go and check the door to see that it's locked. And then we're going to see this lady. And now, any other moment where you encounter this lady, she insta-kills you. But in this particular moment, she just kind of moves through you. And it's like, huh, okay. So that was just meant to scare you. But now, the dangerous part is right here. Right there. So I didn't even get to the door before she busted through it and started screaming. And honestly, it was pure luck that I didn't get caught on her and get hurt. Because if I had gotten caught on her or caught on the door frame, I would have probably died just there. And that is why we make saves in strategic locations, boys and girls. A lot of the time she doesn't come through the door. Often you'll need to go up and like push the door open and hide and wait, and you can wait for her to move back and forth, but sometimes she'll just bust through like that. And so you just want to be prepared for any of those situations. You don't want to get caught in that room with her and all of the loss that she summons, and you don't want to get caught getting out of the room either. So it's going to remove all of your stamina. It's going to be really, really unpleasant if that happens to you. And there you go. That's why we made it save. So here we go into chapter 8. This is basically just an extended boss fight, this chapter, with a couple of little set pieces in between. There are a few things to pick up before you head into the section, and then there are a couple of phases, I guess, to the fight itself. So there's a syringe over to my right, so if you need a syringe, there's one that you can pick up. But if not, we're going to move forward. Make sure that you're full on your ammunition. And then you head through the door, and there's going to be a cutscene that we're going to skip. And then we're going to be in this section where we're going to be hiding from the large obscura. Also, if you hear any beeping in the background of this video, I do apologize. My smoke alarm is malfunctioning, and I've tried to record this commentary 3 times, and then went to the store to buy a new battery for the smoke alarm, and it's still not working. So the apartment complex is going to have to come and fix that, but it's Sunday currently, and nobody's going to come and do that today, so there's just going to be beeping. There's nothing I can do. So I do apologize about that. All right. So here is this sequence right here. So you need to wait for the Obscura to not be looking at you, and then you can move up behind these pieces of cover. And you can do this fairly aggressively, as long as you kind of know the pattern and know what you're doing. And you just wait for it to move back and forth, for the light to not be on you. And move during those moments. I could have moved just then, but I did not. Sometimes it's difficult to tell. But when it moves back over to the left, that's when you want to make your move from this particular spot right here. Here we go. And again, I could have likely moved over, but I was being hesitant and tentative for whatever reason. And we're just going to move from piece of cover to piece of cover, and it's going to be fine. So, the Stefano boss fight coming up is a sequence during which you might be needing to craft some ammunition. There's another locker key, by the way. And so I believe that I'm going to show you the crafting on the fly for that particular section. But just in case I do not, just know that if you go into your inventory, you can craft health items and you can craft ammunition for your weapons on the fly. The healing items do not cost any more resources when you're making them on the fly, so those are really good to make. Like, don't be skimpy on them. But the ammunition costs more resources than it does when you're crafting them at a workbench, so you want to try to avoid that unless it's a situation like this boss fight where you kind of need to just do what you need to do to get through the fight. You know what I mean? The reason why we have resources saved up is so you can use them in moments like this. And this guy is no pushover. And so you want to do what you need to do to get through it. So make sure you grab all the resources that are available in this room. You can go back to the safe room through this mirror if you need to. Or I'll say you should be able to go through this mirror. So folks, this was a glitch that happened in my game. And I could not get back through this mirror. It should work. You should be able to move through it. But I could not for some reason. So I had planned to go in there and craft some more ammunition. At the workbench, I was going to open the locker with the key that I picked up from the sequence where you were hiding from the Obscura. But I couldn't get through the mirror. So I had to do this section without doing that. So it's fine. It just meant, I believe, that I had to craft a little bit more ammunition than I would have wanted to. I tried really hard to get back into the mirror, but it just wouldn't let me. And I got really angry. And what I could have done was, restart, but it was fine, and it ended up being fine. And so I have not a lot of resources here, not as many as I would like. And so here's what I'm going to do. Craft some shock bolts, because shock bolts are really helpful. And the other good weapons for this section, shotgun and sniper rifle. So I'm going to go ahead and craft some more of the shotgun. We're going to keep the sniper rifle as is, because I wasn't sure if I was going to use that or not. But shotgun I'm definitely using. So there will be some ammunition scattered around the boss arena. And as in most of the boss arenas, the ammunition does respawn. And so it takes it a little while, but it will respawn eventually. And so you just want to be checking that every so often. And so this guy has a few different moves. There's a couple of phases to this fight. He's irritatingly quick. In this first fight, you only have to deal with him, and you want to try to lure him into doing that attack right there. So you want to get him walking toward you. When he does that attack that he did right there, he throws a knife at you. But that one right there, you try to run past him and lure him into doing an attack. This one, you want to be running away. So when he does the little camera shot, you just want to be getting out of its area of effect. So when he says that this is going to hurt, that means he's going to toss something at you. Now we're going to bait him into doing a swipe, and we're going to punish him. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing this whole time here, guys. We want to avoid the knife tosses. We want to bait him into doing a swipe, and we want to shoot him after the swipe. You have to be pretty quick. We want to run away from the cameras. And the biggest thing that you want to do is try to get him after he finishes an attack move. And it'll take a little while, but this is definitely a really, really good way of dealing with this boss. The only real danger here is if he appears somewhere and you don't see where he is. And I moved badly on that one. Got caught up against the wall. Which is, not what you want to do. You do want to keep yourself healed up pretty good. Because if he gets you in a bad attack, it can be very, very hurtful to you.
How can you expect to defeat me? Hold still, camera. I call this one captured fear.
And so there we go. We've got him out of phase 1. And now we're going to be in phase 2 of the fight. So this second phase here, you want to move away a little bit faster than I moved to avoid the obscura tentacles trying to smash you. And here's what I will say about this section. Don't be shy about using healing items. There's not a lot of moments throughout the rest of the game where you're really going to need to use a lot of healing items. You're really saving those for things like this, boss encounters, and really difficult sections. And so you want to be using them as you need to. And you'll see during this fight that I'm not shy about crafting more of that healing stuff on the go. So, in this, like, this is not pretty, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. This section right here is not the best gameplay that I have ever recorded. But it was the section where I, got through. I made it through. And so I guess this goes to show you guys it doesn't have to be glorious, it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to look masterful and professional. You just have to get through it. So I've done this fight several times because I think I want to say I died a couple of times and re-recorded these chapters. And there were times where this fight went so much better than it did right now. And it just so happened that the time where I made it through the sequence and decided to continue on, it just looks... it's just not great. So there's moments like this where he gets caught. I miss the shot. There were the times at the beginning where he got caught in the arrows, and I missed my opportunity, my window of opportunity to shoot him because he teleported away before I could switch weapons. So it's stuff like that that makes this fight take longer than it really needs to. If I would have made a few more of these shots, then it would have gone a lot quicker and easier. And I urge you to use explosive bolts here, use shock bolts here. When he gets caught in these blasts, punish him. When he does some of his telegraphed moves like that one that he just did, you can punish him. When he goes to throw a knife, most of the time you'll be able to dodge that, but sometimes you walk directly into it like I did. So he just did his little, two slash move. And so this move right here, this was really unfortunate because I went over here to grab ammunition, and he ended up teleporting directly in front of me and doing that stupid I'm gonna grab you and stab you 17 times animation. So that was super unlucky that happened just then. But it does go to show you that you can survive that if you are at full health. If you are not at full health, you cannot survive that. And so you'll see my health is just under full right now because I didn't want to wait for it to recharge just in case I got hit. And so if he did that attack on me again right now, I would die. But I think in my mind at this moment I was like, whatever, I'm not going to use any more another healing item when it's almost full. If he kills me, then I'll just do it over again, and that's fine because the fight has already gone about as badly as it could possibly go without me dying. So, sniper rifle works really well on him. Shotgun works really well on him. Really, any weapon works really well on him if you can aim the darn thing and get a shot on him. And so, unfortunately, he just teleports away so quickly that it's really trying to get the shot in such a perfect little window of time that it makes it difficult. So I don't know where I was going just then. So he's gonna... And at this point, I was considering crafting some more bolts. Because... And the reason why I say considering crafting more bolts is because I really did not want to waste much more ammunition. Or much more resources. I didn't want to waste many more resources on this fight because he should be close to dead at this point. He's taken several explosive bolts. He has been shot several times. I've shot him with the shotgun. I've shot him with the sniper rifle. You know, he should be fairly weak. But he wasn't quite dead yet, and I just didn't want to craft too many more items. But he needed to die. And clearly I wasn't going to be able to shoot him. So I'm going to try to lure him into this explosive bolt. And then I think I'm going to finish him off with just the regular guns. Because he does still telegraph his moves. You know, he does the 3 different kinds. The one where he runs at you and tries to well, he does that one, which you need to really run away from, cuz that one's the screw you move. There's how the explosive bolts can kind of get you. They don't do a ton of damage to you, especially if you're not right on top of them, but that is the danger of using those in this situation. So he'll do the knife toss. He'll do this one where he runs at you and does the swipe, which you can punish. And then he's dead. So he does the same moveset in the second phase, or he does a lot of the same movesets. The only thing that's different is he doesn't really do that camera area effect, and instead he does the Philistine run at you thing, which is terrible. But just try to be a little bit more accurate with your shots. Try to hopefully be stocked up on ammunition, and hopefully your little safety room mirror thing won't mess up on you like it did for me, because that's why I was tentative to really craft more things, because I didn't want to waste too many resources on that fight. But we did what we had to do, and we got through it, and now we can fill up a little bit more, because you're not going to have the ability to craft at a workbench for a little while now, because chapter 9 is kind of encapsulated. And so I try not to craft too many healing things until I need them, because I want to be able to pick them up if possible. Because, like I said before, for the healing items, it doesn't cost any more resources to craft them on the fly. And so I try to keep myself not quite maximum, but close-ish to maximum with the shotgun shells and handgun bullets and bolts, so that I kind of leave room to pick some ammo up if it's available in the levels. But the healing items, I kind of wait until I really need them, because you can always pause and craft that on the fly, and so that's what I kind of do. But yeah, the Stefano fight, it sucks. You know. But you get through it. You move on, and now we are in chapter number 9. And so hopefully that was helpful to you guys, because man, it's really not, it's really going to be difficult for you to fail more than I failed during that sequence just there. So here we go on to the next part. What I will say about the strategy that I used on Stefano, though, that area where I was hiding, I think that's a really, really good spot. So the strategy was solid. It was just the execution that was a little lacking on that. And, you know, that's why I didn't. That's why I said, you know what, it's fine. I'm not going to re-record it. It's okay. It just shows them that they don't have to be amazing at all to get through it. So hopefully that area and that strategy is helpful to you guys, because you're pretty safe from the Obscura tentacles there, and you also have a lot of cover from him. And you have the nice, like, 2 sides there where you can place your bolts so that he can, get damaged and that sort of thing. So it's not that it was a bad location or a bad strat. It was just I couldn't seem to aim my gun fast enough to shoot him when I needed to at that particular moment. And we all have those moments. So don't be too hard on yourself. So this section right here, you want to avoid that lamp. There are a few things that you can pick up in this little area here. So there's a bottle down here, and then there's some handgun bullets. There's going to be a few enemies here. There's one sequence in particular that's kind of, it's a little bit dangerous, because there's a bunch of enemies that wake up and get released from some cells, and including a hysteric. And so that little section coming up here can get a little bit hairy, but it's not too terrible. So I do want to give a little shout out to Megabug7, who left me a comment a couple of days ago on one of my earlier videos and let me know what the official names of these enemies are, because clearly I didn't know. And so thank you to you, Megabug, because that means that I didn't have to go and look it up, which saved me a little bit of time, which I appreciate. So when you move into this room, that guy's going to get up from the corner. If you move forward, you can avoid him and then move back through this little tunnel and continue going. As with a lot of these areas, you don't necessarily have to go there. And so if you're not feeling like risking it, that is perfectly okay. It's just one of those situations where I knew that I could make it through that without taking damage, and so I did. But if you are worried, or if you don't care as much about getting some of the resources, then that is okay. And I will say, I didn't run out of resources by the end of this playthrough, so you probably do not need quite as much as you're going to pick up if you follow everything in the guide, which is nice. Even with that situation there where I used more than I really should have because I wasn't able to go back to the workbench before that boss fight, even in that situation, you know, I had to use a bunch of gunpowder and stuff that I didn't really plan on using, but I still didn't run out by the end of the game, which is nice. So there are all these guys in these cells, and something that you can do to save yourself some grief later on is try to kill them while they are still in these cells. A really, really good method of doing that is using the harpoon bolts. They kill them very quickly. But you can also just pistol shot them to death. And seeing as I don't use my pistol a whole lot, I have a lot of ammo for it. It's also the cheapest ammo to make. And so I'm not worried about expending a few shots here to take out some of these guys. So there's that guy who definitely gets released. There is also a couple of guys on the floor in there, and I believe at least one of them gets up. There are a couple of guys in these cells, including this one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and harpoon him. And it's a little finicky. I've had the harpoon bolt get stuck on the bars. And he does move his face around a little bit. But the harpoon bolts are good, and I know that I'm going to pick up 2 more from in here. Like I said, there are also some more guys on the floor that you can kill if you want to, before you go ahead and turn the crank and release them. But you don't have to do that, because there's also some other things at your disposal to be able to take them out. There's a lot of areas around in here where you can hide and take them out with stealth kills. There's also the chandeliers that you can knock down and burn some of them, so that can be helpful. And so, like, that guy right there is perfectly placed underneath that chandelier, so if I had wanted to, I could have shot it down, but I'm kind of saving it because I'm wanting to stealth kill this dude. Because I feel like the chandeliers for me were kind of like a resource that I could use if I was in trouble. You know, so if I was running away from some things and I really needed to take them out, I used that. Or if I could use it on a couple of different guys. And so after you deal with the first guy, there is another one who's sort of holding his head, and he's just having a bad day. So we're going to take that opportunity to go and pick up some resources, because, you know, I like making sure that I'm stocked. I don't want to go into there because there is a guy who I think will probably get up. And so as I was trying and failing to hide around that one piece of cover, I got spotted. But that's actually okay, because I think sometimes it's good to get spotted by these guys because it allows you to lure them way down here. And this is a much better section to be trying to lose them and stealth them and all of that good business. Because you have lots of cover around here, and then when they're walking back to their regular locations, you have a lot of room to be able to get behind them and and alert them, and then have to run away again. But these little walls, like, they're really good for being able to run around and kite these guys. And as long as you only have one at a time that you're dealing with, you really can just play with them. So, second guy is successfully taken out. And now we're going to move up into the main hall. So you could probably hear just then the sound of a hysteric. She's going to come out of that gate right there. And you want to be careful of her because she does that little thing where she moves and looks to the left. So you might have thought that you could get a shot on her or a stab in on her, but you don't want to do that. So I'm luring over this guy. I was going to try to shoot him in the head with that harpoon shot and missed. Because, you know, I'm amazing. It's funny. If any of you guys ever record stuff, it's great because whenever you're just playing and like doing whatever, you can pull off some awesome things. But if you're ever trying to record something for the purposes of like making a guide or doing something like that, you like always just mess up the stupidest things, and it's like you never look awesome. And you're like, man, why couldn't I have some of my awesome headshots that I made in the 6 other times that I played through that section happen for me when I'm recording the walkthrough? Nope, that's just Guide Maker's curse, I think. But here we go, we've lured this guy back and we're gonna stab him. There should be one other lost who is eating that corpse over there. I'm just trying to be careful of this hysteric here because she's, got magical eyeballs. And so she's kind of patrolling this left side over here. And you just want to get around to where you can get in a sneak attack on her. Huh. So I thought there was another guy who was eating corpses over there, but I guess not. Alright. And then I'm going to kite her and try to lose her. And then I'm going to repeat my sneaky stab. And so the music dies down. She's probably going to return to her regularly programmed pattern. And the good thing with these hysterics is they do follow you and they can see you from a long way away, but they're not very fast when it comes to following you. So there she is. She's moving back to her regular spot. And I'm going to stab her again. So there we go. That's the big threat in this area down. And I'm going to go and I'm going to grab this key from the statue that was in the area where that one that we killed was, I guess, worshipping. Move in there just enough to be able to grab that pipe without waking the guy. And so here we go. So now everything is dealt with. I'm going to turn the crank here. And if there was anything that was reminiscent of Resident Evil, it's these cranks, I think. And so when you start moving the crank, those two bodies get up. A good thing that you could do there is go ahead and just harpoon bolt them both in the head. I think it will kill them in one shot, and you know, I guess it just depends on how much you like harpoon bolts, because personally I don't use them a whole lot. I do use them in certain situations, but they're not one of the bolt types that I tend to use more frequently, and so I could have probably afforded to use them there. But for some people, they really, really like them. They are a nice, oftentimes one-hit kill that is quiet, so you don't get a lot of enemies noticing you when you fire them, which is nice. And so if you are, you know, if you are someone who likes those harpoon bolts, I would say going ahead and using them there would be helpful. But as it happened, I used the fire. It didn't work super well. It was not super effective. But 2 fires was more super effective. And so now there's just the one guy left to contend with. And he's going to be moving back to his little pattern over here at the front of the area. And we're gonna sneak up on him like a you know, the stealthy panther that Sebastian is. And stab him in the back. And then believe there's one more guy in this area that I'm going to contend with in order to get a resource, in order to get an ammo pouch, and a couple of other goodies from the room that is directly to my right. Alright, so this guy's dealt with. And now we can finish turning the crank. So yeah, I mean, take those guys out how you want to. You can harpoon them before they get up. You can take them out kind of the way that I did. In my head, 2 handgun bullets and a sneak kill was superior to 2 harpoon shots, but it did put you at a little bit more risk. So just be aware of your options in this scenario. So we have this guy who's kneeling over here. You can't really sneak up on him because he'll see you and he'll get up and turn around. So, you know, you can shoot him very inaccurately in the back and then run away from him. You know, that's a strategy. You just want to make sure that you don't try to sneak up on him thinking that you're going to stealth kill him at that altar there, because that doesn't particularly work. So hopefully, you know, you get him in the head with that harpoon shot. But if you don't, you can always run away and sneaky kill him like we did. So, gonna go up here and we're gonna grab some gunpowder and the thing that we came in here for, the crossbow ammo pouch upgrade. So, gonna move on out of this area. And in these rooms, there are a few goodies. Syringe right here. There's one that has a bunch of boxes that you can break, and then some ammunition that you can pick up. So yeah, I would say it's definitely worth going in and clearing out these rooms. So this one right here has some shotgun shells, which are awesome. And then there's some handgun bullets right there. Sometimes that guy will stand up, and I'm not really sure exactly what triggers it, whether it's getting too close to him or what. But I've had that guy stand up before. The one that is next to the handgun bullets. So just be aware of that. Be prepared to run back through the hole pretty quickly if you need to. And that should be everything from these rooms. And we can head on down the ladder and into the next section of this chapter. And so you're going to have a little bit of exposition here. You're going to have Theodore talking to you a little bit. And you're going to fall down the ladder because, of course, you can never get down a ladder unless it's one of the awesome ladders of safety. But, you know, when it's a scripted ladder like that, they always break. It's just a survival horror staple, you know? And so I was checking before to make sure that I had smoke bolts, because in a section coming up here very soon, we're going to have the first of the fire lost. And they probably have another name too, but they're just like regular Lost, except they're on fire, and they have a different moveset, and they're tougher to kill because they can charge at you from pretty far away. That's unpleasant. They set themselves on fire, so they will be on fire for a few seconds, and then they're off for a few seconds, and then they turn themselves back on, flame off, back and forth. And we'll have to deal with them throughout the rest of the game. But this is the first time that we encounter them, and we're in a section where we can't really run away from them or sneak kill them. And so the smoke bolts are really, really helpful because they make it so that they kind of lose you. And you can get some distance and get some shots in on them in this enclosed space that we're going to be in here shortly.
Is that Lily?
And so here we go. You saw these guys in an earlier cutscene, but we haven't encountered them in the game yet. And so when you spawn into this room, there's one right in front of you, and you want to run away from him. Because you see how much that hurts? So much. A ridiculous amount of hurt. That he puts on you right there. And they charge at you from quite a long way away, but we're at a better moment right now. So you want to kind of kite them around this room, get some shots in on them, use your smoke bolts, because that'll allow you to shoot a bunch of handgun bullets at them and miss a lot of times. It'll allow you to get some shots in on them. I'm being really, really mean to myself in this video, and I'm not sure why. I'm really salty about some of these situations, but this is the strategy. You want to really try to kite these guys and have them clustered up and stay away from them, because they do a lot of damage. You can also do a combination of smoke bolts and explosive bolts. So if you smoke bolt them and get them kind of clustered up and paused, you can then explosive bolt them and get a couple of them in the blast. And that's a really good way to deal with these guys too. But you see that lunge? Like, they run at you from a long way away, and that lunge attack is very damaging. And so we're kiting, we're running, we're using our resources. And in this situation, like, don't be too shy about using resources if you need to, because that sequence can go wrong very quickly, as you saw at the beginning of it. I would say have a smoke bolt ready to go, and if you can smoke them at the beginning and start doing your little kiting around the room a little bit faster than I did, you should be able to get through that without taking quite as much damage as I did. But that's the strat for that room. And you're gonna want to go around and pick up all of the items, and there's a medical kit there, so don't worry about having to use that. If you did, there was a harpoon bolt and some bullets and just some goodies. And that was the major threat of this chapter. And so you now have the room of safety here that you can go to if you want to restock and craft some items, open some lockers, etc., etc. And you're going to have to solve this little puzzle here, which I'm going to show you how to do. But first off, we're going to grab another statue and key. And now is the moment when, if you're going to go through the mirror to the safe room, now's the moment to do that, because you now have the keys, both keys from this level, and you can grab the resources from those lockers, which is cool. So we're going to go and we're going to do that, and I'm going to make sure that I'm stocked up, because the next part will be chapter 10, and it's no joke. You're in this very small area, and there are a lot of enemies that are going to be coming at you. And so it's a very, very good idea to be stocked up on ammunition. There is a lot of ammo in chapter 10 for you to use, but the majority of it is handgun bullets, and I don't know, for me, handgun bullets are fine, but some of your other resources are way more useful. And so you want to make sure you have a good amount of shock bolts, smoke bolts, explosive bolts, shotgun ammo, all of that good stuff going into this next section, because if you're like me and you've gotten through the Stefano boss fight and you've gotten through chapter 9, you don't want to die in chapter 10. Because I was really like, okay, we're almost there. We've just got to get through this little fight at the beginning of chapter 10, and then the rest of it will be fine, and then we'll get to the save location in chapter 11, and everything's going to be awesome. But it's at moments like this where you're more likely to get nervous as well. Because I find that when I'm playing through these things, the longer that I go, the more my nerves start getting to me. You know what I mean? It's like I know what to do. I know my strategies. I know that I can pull off what I'm wanting to pull off. But a lot of times it's just like your mind gets in your own way, because you start to get nervous, you start to feel like I've gotten through a lot of tricky sections, I I don't want to die. I don't want to have to go back and do it again, etc., etc. And it's that, you know, psychological thing where you mess yourself up because your adrenaline was going a little bit too much. Like, your adrenaline going at a medium amount is really helpful for these kind of things, because a lot of times you can pull off stuff that you didn't realize you could even do. But when it's going a little bit too much, that's when you know, your response time is not amazing. So we're solving this little puzzle. You just want to turn these cranks and set the symbol up correctly. And so basically you want to move the second crank from left to right. You want to move the second crank first, then the first crank, then the third crank, then the fourth crank, and that'll help you put this into order. And so, Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is going to be very fast and furious. So, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it a little bit more before we actually get started with it. So, you're going to have several waves of enemies. The first one, they're going to be coming from the front. The second one, they're going to be coming from the back. And then they're going to be coming from both sides. And then you're going to have some tougher enemies appear. So you're going to have some of the hysterics, and you're going to have some of the double-headed dog creatures as well. And so it's those later stages where things can get hairy. You also have this companion character who, you know, she does a decent job. She's not horrid. The only problem with her is if she gets knocked down, you need to pick her up, and that can be a problem. So I'm working the front here. I'm trying to put people down with pistol to conserve my better ammunition for later on. And gonna go around and grab resources a little bit as we go.
But I'm getting some answers when this is all over.
There's a barrel there of oil. You just want to be really careful that you don't shoot that. I'm gonna go ahead and knock it over for later, but you want to save that for when the double-headed dog creatures come out. And so when there's an enemy that's attacking her on the ground, you can get in that auto kill on one of them. So, we're going to heal up. We're going to regroup. If you can get these guys to fall down, you can stomp kill them like you just saw. You want to be careful when they're standing in the oil because you don't want to shoot the oil just yet.
Check the back. I can hear more on the way.
And so now when she says check the back, you're going to have some enemies coming in from the back. And just be careful to not get caught with a bunch of these enemies all around you. Use your healing items as need be. Put them down with your shotgun and stomp on their heads. That's a very helpful way of dealing with them.
Don't let them gang up on you.
Alright. So we're going to go. We're going to replenish our ammunition. We're going to put people down and stomp their faces. We're going to get hit by somebody because they're mean. Use your healing items to heal up. Healing items also restore your stamina, so they can be really helpful. So we have a witch in now, and that sucks. And so when the witch comes in, you want to start really using your your heavy ammunition. So make sure that you're filled up on health. Use some explosive bolts. She takes a pounding too. Oh my god, I'm trying so hard to get her to go through that explosive bolt. And just keep yourself healed. Just keep yourself healed. Okay, I think she's finally dead now. And so after she dies, it's going to spawn in the two...
Hey, what the hell is that noise?
Oh shit. Watch out.
I think there's 3 actually of these double-sided dog creatures. And so if you use a shock bolt there, it should set this one on fire, which is helpful. If you use a smoke bolt, that's useful. Because they get stunned in the smoke. And so right now we have 1 more of these double-sided dogs, and we have a pickle. Because they're super fast. So we're going to use smoke. We're going to pick her up. Well, I was going to try to pick her up, but then things became hairy. So we didn't pick her up. We're going to smoke these guys. We're going to heal again because good grief. So what will be helpful in this section that you should do that I did not get set up quite well enough is to use your bolts around the corner so that stuff does not get to you. And you can hide in this corner the whole time, not have to worry about stuff getting to you, and just use your bolts to keep stuff away from you. Shock bolts, explosive bolts, smoke bolts, all of those things work. And if you keep putting those things at the corner, you can hide in that back section and not worry about getting touched. Execution on that, once again, didn't go very well, but that is what I was attempting to do. I just did not quite get it set up the way that I wanted to when they started coming back. And so if you smoke, you shock, you explode, use your shotgun, etc., you'll take those people out. But what you can also do is just make sure that you heal. Make sure that you heal. Here is a statue. You're gonna grab the key from there, and that's the big gauntlet of this chapter done. There is still another section with some more of those flame enemies, which can be irritating, but that's the majority of this chapter done. So the fight in that house,
You can at least tell me how you know my name.
it can get bad.
Kidman.
Most of the waves went fairly decently, but when the witch came in, the witch or the hysteric, I guess, came in a little bit before I was expecting her, and the strategy on her is the same as the one that I was saying for the double-sided dogs, is to try to stay around the back corner and just keep using shock bolts to stun her, to keep her from getting to you, and then hit her with explosive bolts to kill her. And if you alternate shock explosive, or smoke explosive, that should be pretty effective. But as it happened, things just got crazy, and I had to adjust and got hit a few times and had to use some healing, etc. And then the same deal happened with the double-sided dogs. They came in. I didn't have my bolts set up exactly the way that I had planned to, and had to get a little bit creative. But hopefully the execution for you will go a little bit better than the execution for me on the latter part of that building, and you'll be able to get through it with a little less stress than I felt in that moment.
So that's why she's part of Mobius. This is ridiculous.
And so you get a little bit of exposition here, and we're going to be coming up against some more of the flame enemies in this next sequence. And so there's a lot of them, and you can stealth the area, but it's a little difficult to do so. Something that I tried to do and failed to do. This whole video has just been, failed execution of things. And I really hate that. It's just been failed execution of certain sections of this game, and it's unfortunate, but it is what happened in the run where I was recording, where I made it to the save point. And so there's sometimes where you just have to take what you get, and I wish that it was cleaner for you guys. I really, really do. But I'm telling you what, I hated this mode, and
Hey, you just gonna forget about me?
just getting through it is all that I needed to do, and it's all that you need to do. So, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be super clean. You just have to do it. And so I do apologize for some of these things not being as clean as I would like for them to be.
Who else was involved in
And there are probably other strategies that would work really well, and I do appreciate comments that people leave. Here's what I did, here's something that you can do, you can save ammo here by doing this or that. I do appreciate that stuff, because I did this without looking up guides. You know what I mean? And so I don't get the benefit of knowing a bunch of strategies that other people do and then trying to pick the one that I thought was best for me. I was doing this kind of blind, going in with the strategies that I had used from my first playthrough and playing through these sections a few times before it came out clean enough to get through it. And so I appreciate the extra knowledge that other people can give. This is basically just my way of getting through the game and hopefully giving other people the confidence that they don't have to be an amazing superstar of awesomeness where everything works out just the way that you plan it to, in order to get through game modes like this, because you don't have to be. And I think this video itself is a perfect example of what I mean when I say modes like this are not that challenging. They're frustrating because, like, during this video, a lot of the time, I have not looked like an amazing player. There are some times when I pull off good things, but in this video in particular, it showcases some moments where I have not played spectacularly, and I still got through this mode and got my achievement. You know what I mean? And so it just goes to show you do not have to be like a professional player. You don't have to do everything perfectly. You don't have to be amazing 100% of the time on these modes. And so that's why I think it's ridiculous that they exist in the first place, because it creates this false sense of, oh my God, you have to be such a great player in order to get through this mode. Well, no, you don't. You don't have to be a great player to get through this mode. You just have to suffer. You have to be willing to suffer through failed attempts and things that don't work, and the game being a little bit glitchy in places, and losing progress and going back and doing things over. It's just patience. All it is patience and frustration tolerance. That's all that modes like this are. Because if you have learned nothing else from this video, it's that you do not need to be amazing in order to get through this mode. You just don't. And so things like, I would say, Akumu difficulty from the first game, they really force you to be a much better player. Because it forces you to get through sections cleanly. It punishes you, if you don't do something well. But it doesn't punish you to the extent where you're just losing hours and hours of progress. I would much rather spend an hour at a checkpoint doing the same 30 seconds over and over again, because like trying to get through that 30 seconds in the most clean way possible, than to derp my way through hours of progress and then get by, by the skin of my teeth and say, thank God I don't ever have to do that again, which is what this mode is, So this is a perfect example of what I mean when I say you do not have, like, this mode is not this great test of skill that I think people think that it is, that developers, I think, believe that it is, because making me lose progress does nothing more than increase my frustration and make me do stupid things, because I'm nervous about dying. That's all it does. And there you go. So, in this section, you want to try to sneak kill people where you can. You don't want to touch them when they're on fire. Clearly, Hopefully I don't have to tell you not to touch things that are on fire. Because if you didn't learn that when you were like 3 years old, I don't know how to help you. So there's a lot of these dudes. They're patrolling around. They have their little patterns. And they see you from a lot of angles and at a lot of moments, because they're all facing different directions and they're all on different little patterns. And so they saw me. I tried to kill as many of them as I could without getting seen, but that lasted through 2 kills, and now I'm going to just run. And I ran to the end of the map and hoped that I was going to lose them. And I believe I did this section before, and I did lose them, running this way toward the exit. But these guys kept following me, and it was really annoying because I couldn't get to the exit like I wanted to. And so what I did, and this ends up being a nice backup strat as we pick up the sniper rifle ammo pouch that we wanted to get. A nice backup strat is to use these trucks. And so again, I tried to run around and lose these guys. I hoped that my companion lady would stop them enough so that I could hide. You can hide in this bush here. But here's what happened. She got downed. And they didn't leave. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, why? Just why? So there are a couple of them that buggered off to the right. But there's one that's stuck. And this screwed up my entire strategy there. So they didn't leave like I wanted them to. They saw me again like I didn't want them to. And it's just left me in a really bad pickle. And so I've got a couple of them chasing me, and I'm like, ugh, I don't know what I can do here, but hopefully they can't get me up on top of this truck. And they can't. So now I've got 3 of these jerk faces down here trying to kill me on this truck, but they can't. And so I'm going to shoot them a lot of times, and I end up spending a ton of ammunition that I didn't want to spend killing these guys, when if things had worked out a little bit differently and the game hadn't decided to screw me here at the end, I could have gotten around the other side of the exit to the area, hidden in the bush, and they would have gone away. And then I could have come up here and gotten the sniper rifle ammo pouch and not had to waste all of these bullets. But that's not what happened. What happened was this. So I was trying to get to her, but I didn't want to risk getting down off of this truck. And so I'm trying to vary the resources that I'm expending here. I'm using some of these harpoon shots because I know that I don't use them all that often. I'm using the handgun bullets because I know I don't use them all that often, and they're cheap to make. But if you get yourself into a spot in this area, just know that getting on top of these trucks is a nice backup safety strat. I think when their flame is on, they are harder to kill. Like, they take more damage, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's kind of why I'm waiting when they are on fire to shoot them for when the flames go out, because I think that they take more damage. And so we have one left. And for whatever reason, like, these guys are hard to hit in the head. Well, they're probably not hard to hit in the head. They're hard for me to hit in the head. And so I did things like shoot off their arms, which doesn't help because their arms grow back because they're made of lava. Come on, Dormouse. Just kill him. Please just kill him. Thank you. Okay. So he's dead, finally. And we can pick her up. The good thing about her is that at least you don't have to pick her up straight away. Like, there's no... or there doesn't seem to be any timer on having to pick her up. So, that's helpful. And so I'm going to run toward the exit. I heard another one growling at me. And I'm like, oh, please, please no. Let's just get to the exit. And so she has to be up here with you, or else you can't move on. And then she gives you shit for not being stealthy. And it's like, girl... give me a break. Give me a little bit of a break here. Because we just survived a lot of stupid things. So there you go. That's the end of chapter 10. The rest of this is just collecting a couple of things and moving into the beginning of chapter 11. Skip through a bunch of... talking and making our next save. So that was the frustrating middle section of this game, and we made it through 3 whole chapters plus a little bit of chapter 7 in this one, which is cool. And you know what? If you didn't have to make as many saves, or if you didn't make as many saves at the beginning as I did, because this is going to be save number 4 for me. If you didn't make quite as many saves in the beginning sections of the game, that will afford you the ability to make a few more saves here toward the end of the game. And so you could have probably saved maybe at the beginning of chapter 9 or something after the Stefano boss fight. Or even at the end of chapter 9, just in case something went wrong with the beginning of chapter 10. So those are definitely viable locations for you to make saves if you so choose. Once again, the places where I made saves are more suggestions than they are hard and fast rules. And so I'm going to pick up some items, use the coffee pot if you need to. And I'm not quite full, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Go ahead and check out the safe room, use locker keys, craft any other items that you want. Chapter 11 has a couple of tricky moments in it. The worst thing is the boss fight at the end. And it's not too bad because you can stealth kill him. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. And I think that that's pretty beast, the ability to stealth that boss. And so it ends up not being too heavy on the resource use this chapter, but it definitely has a lot of potential for things to go wrong. And so I think making a save here is a wise choice, because especially if you've gone through chapters 8, 9, and 10, you know, you definitely don't want to have to do all of that again. And the boss fight, while you can make it look easy with the stealth, it's not. And he can be a real jerk face. And he hurts when he hits you. And there are a few things on the way there that can be unpleasant too. So I would say this is a really good spot to make a save if you haven't saved recently. So that's what I'm going to do. So there you go, guys. That is the end of this video. Thank you for bearing through it. I know it wasn't 100% pretty and 100% clean, but we made it through. Hopefully some of the strategies are helpful to you. And I will see you in the next part.